Good morning, all. Welcome to the webinar on energy efficiency improvement in boiler systems, organized by Energy Management Center Kerala. As you all know, Energy Management Center Kerala is under Department of Power, Government of Kerala, is the state designated agency to Bureau of Energy Efficiency under Ministry of Power, Government of India. We are into the field of energy efficiency activities and energy conservation activities from 1996. And we were continuously organizing training programs as well as various energy efficiency improvement projects in Kerala. But due to this COVID situation, we cannot conduct live training programs. So we have moved into the online platform for conducting these awareness training programs. In the post-COVID session, we were limited to conduct training programs because we cannot invite participants from all over India coming over here. But in case of this online platform, as of now, there are 55 participants around all over India. And this added advantage of this online webinar portal. And today's topic is, as you can all see, and it's energy efficiency improvement in boiler systems. And it's been handled by R. Nesamani, who is the Joint Director of Petroleum Conservation Research Association, Chennai. PCRA is in the field of energy audit and energy conservation activities from long back. And Nesamani, he is a BE certified energy auditor and an EMS lead auditor. He took his BTech from NIT Trichy and MBA from School of Petroleum Management. He is having a total working experience of 16 years in energy sector. He formerly worked in Reliance Energy Limited and Daily India Limited, and then he joined PCRA, Petroleum Conservation Research Association. He was there for the last 3 years. And he was also a BE certified energy auditor and have conducted 30 energy audits and 5 PAT audits for the designated consumers. He is the lead auditor of Energy Management System ISO 50001, and he has conducted more than 100 presentations and has trained so many people. So he is having well knowledge in the field of energy efficiency improvement in boiler systems. And on behalf of EMC and all participants, I welcome Mr. Nesamani. So you can start the presentation, sir. We can see you.
Okay, sir. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Sir, for a warm introduction. Good morning to the participants from various industries and the EMC Kerala team and PCRA team from various zones. On behalf of PCRA, I would like to welcome you all for the presentation on energy efficiency improvement in boiler systems. I am R. Nesamani, and I am the Joint Director in PCRA Chennai. I am a certified energy auditor and energy management system lead auditor. Today, I will present my learnings about the energy audit of boiler systems and 20 techniques to improve its energy efficiency, which will surely reduce the thermal energy consumption of the industry. I have added case studies from energy audits of PCRA and BEE and from other sources to support the credibility of these methods. I'm really delighted to meet you all in this forum and happy to present my views today. As the topic needs vast coverage, I will take 1.5 hours to complete this presentation. During the presentation, if you have any queries, please put it in chat box. We will discuss after presentation. I have given an introduction about myself. I'm Nesamani, Joint Director in PCRA Chennai. We'll move on to the next slide. This is the flow of the webinar. It will be like introduction of PCRA. We'll see about the boiler and its types, boiler system energy audit, what is the approach and what are the tools we will be using for audits, and performance assessment of boiler systems and losses, and factors affecting the boiler efficiency, the energy efficiency improvements, action plans with case studies. The introduction about PCRA. Our vision is to become a center of excellence for energy conservation. Actions towards achieving our visions are like we have been conducting a trainings to industries on energy conservation techniques. and we have been conducting energy audits for industries at all levels, means starting from PAT audits for designated consumers to MSME audits. We have been conducting audits. We have conducted more than 10,000 energy audits till date. And we provide consultancy to implement energy management system ISO 50001 for industries to keep continual improvement in energy performance. This is our YouTube link for PCRA India, and this is our Twitter handle. If you follow our YouTube and Twitter, you will continuously getting the updates about energy conservation. So first, we'll move on to the small introduction about the boiler. Boiler is a pressurized vessel which converts water into steam using a heat energy by burning a fuel. We give a fuel and air through burner, and it will because of its combustion, it will produce heat energy. That heat energy is absorbed by the water, and the water will get converted into steam. This is a simple and brief introduction about the boiler. Types of boiler, we have various types of boiler as per its pressure and applications. We have many types like fire tube boiler and water tube boiler, packaged boiler, FBC, and pulverized fuel boiler, which is mostly used in thermal power plants at high temperatures. And stoker fired boiler, it has two types, spreader stoker and chain grate stoker. So second topic is like how to do an energy audit of boiler system. What is the approach, and what are the tools we will be using during the audit? So the audit approach is like first thing, if you go to any industry, we have to calculate the thermal baseline for the plant or industry. Means in terms of specific energy consumption, how much thermal energy they are using to produce 1 metric ton of the product output. That we have to calculate and find, so that will be a baseline, specific energy consumption. So after that, what we have to do, we have to compare that baseline with the benchmark baseline of for the applicable industry or the process wise. For example, if any, for example, let's take a rice mill. There may be having some 1,000 kilocal per metric ton of rice product. So that we have to compare with other industries, so that we can know what is our status, whether we are lagging or is there any scope of improvement is there or not. That we have to find out. Third is we have to study the existing energy consumption pattern, so to find the avoidable energy losses in the boiler and steam systems. Fourth is as per the findings, we have to list down the action plans to improve the SEC, and we have to prioritize them as per the impact on SEC and the cost of implementation, economics, and overall economics also, with the payback period that we have to do. As per the priority and economics, we have to implement the action plans one by one. The final step is, after implementing, surely the specific energy consumption will come down. So we have to find SEC again and compare with the initial baseline, so that will give how much improvement we have achieved in energy performance. So this is the approach we will be using for energy audit of thermal system. So tools, I have told that we will be using two tools. One is a steam balance diagram. So whenever we go to any industry for a boiler and steam system audit, we have to draw a single line diagram of the steam, how the steam flows through to various processes and what are the pressures and temperature. So it will give fair idea about which process consumes more energy and which process consumes more energy than its required energy. Means the temperature may be required, temperature and pressure may be lesser, but it may be we may be supplying steam at high pressure and temperature. Those things and leakages, those things we can approximately find out. The second tool is analyzing the energy basket of the unit. So whenever we go to industry, we have to find what are the various energy forms they are using. One is the electricity they will be using, and this is I took the example of rice mill cluster. They have been using a rice husk for boiler fuel, and the third is a diesel. When we asked the industry person, what is your energy consumption? She just replied that we have been consuming the electricity of this much units per month. You have to do something so that our energy bill reduces. So the point to note is that most of the small industries think that the thermal energy is not of importance, or big, as it is not metered in small units. They are not aware that it's also one of the energy forms they are consuming, and they are losing also. So when we have prepared an energy mix basket for the rice mill, and we found that the electricity which they are talking that energy consumption, it is only 6.5% of the total energy consumption. You see, the rice husk means the boiler fuel consumes almost consumption is 93%, but electricity consumption is only 6.5% of the total energy mix per year. So this shows the importance of, so we have to give importance to the reduction of thermal energy instead of focusing on electrical energy. That's what to be noted. So next is if you see the energy balance diagram of the boiler. If fuel energy input is in the form of fuel, maybe rice husk, coal, wood, anything, it is in 100%. It enters the boiler. Boiler will have a losses, like dry flue gas loss will be maximum, and then radiation and convection loss and the blow down loss. These losses will be there. After that, the boiler efficiency will come between 70 to 80%. This 80% of input energy is given in the form of steam. That is the output of boiler. That steam enters the end use, means for process usage. During that usage also, we lose steam in the form of distribution system that we will be discussing in detail. Almost 5 to 15% is lost in distribution. So finally, the end use load will get only 56 to 75%. The energy manager of the plant, his main concern shall be like he has to improve the overall efficiency so that the fuel cost, consumption cost should come down, and specific energy consumption should come down. So this is a boiler's combustion chemistry. What happens inside the boiler? We supply fuel and air inside the furnace using a burner, and both mix together because of 3 T's. We need a 3 T's: time, turbulence, and temperature. Because of the combustion process, the byproduct we call it, but it is being waste as a flue gas. It comes out, that is CO2, nitrogen, and water vapor, and oxygen, and carbon monoxide. It shall be in very little amount, but anyway it will come out. And some losses, some fuel will be lost in as an unburned. So two important reactions happening is, one is the carbon oxygen with carbon combined with oxygen to form a carbon monoxide. If it is a lack of oxygen, that releases only some 4000 BTU per LB of energy. If it is a proper combustion, carbon mixed with the oxygen to form a CO2. It will release energy of 14,000. So you see that because of lack of combustion, we lose almost 10,000 BTU per pound of fuel. So that's what we wanted to mention in this. If I am going fast, if I am audible, Sarath, please, you can call me or you can announce me. Okay.
Okay. There was a suggestion from the participant now, sir. Could you please slow a little bit?
Slow. Sure. That's what I also felt.
Okay.
So third is a PAT audit performance assessment of boilers and systems. So this is a simple introduction. We'll be briefly elaborating about the how we have to do a performance assessment of boiler in case of PAT audit. In normal also we have been doing the same thing. What are the things we will be doing relevant to boiler systems? Are boiler, main boiler efficiency calculation and finding its losses. I will explain in later. For air preheater, we have to find leakage percentage and gas side efficiency. So how to do this? This is a APH. Flue gas enters one side and exit outside to chimney. One side air is entering and taking the heat from flue gas and exiting, going to furnace. So we have to note down the oxygen percentage in the flue gas before and after APH. If the oxygen percentage has increased in between these 2 points, it means that some air has entered in the flue gas path from the air line. Why it happens? Because the air line is in high pressure. This line is in vacuum, means lesser pressure. So because of that, and as well as because of various reasons like seals damaging and other reasons, the leakage happens. That percentage, how much leakage percentage, we have to calculate using a formula. There's a formula like O2. We'll see that O2 percentage divided by 21 minus O2. That is a formula we have to use. And then the purpose of finding is that if it is more than the design value of leakage percentage, it will have a effect on heat rate, boiler, unit heat rate. Unit heat rate will increase, so causing a high energy fuel consumption as well as losses also will increase. So second point is gas side efficiency. As the leakage happens, what happens? The air entering into the flue gas path will consume heat to get its moisture to vaporize to vapor, as well as it will reduce the flue gas temperature. So we may be thinking that the flue gas temperature is reducing because APH is performing good like that, but it's not the case. Air, because of the leakage, the flue gas temperature has come down. So that will reduce the APH efficiency, that we call it as a gas side efficiency. The formula is like a delta T, means what is the temperature difference happening between this point and this point, divided by the total temperature head available for the, assume it as some heat transfer equipment. But one main important point is that the temperature outside the APH shall be corrected for a leakage. Again, there is a big formula for that. We have to use oxygen percentages and all. We have to correct the temperature. That will be in actual case, suppose if it is a APH exit temperature is some 170 degrees Celsius, but if you correct to leakage, it will come down to 160 degrees Celsius like that. Sorry, it will increase to 180 degrees Celsius. We will be seeing that with the case studies. So third is a ESP leakage. Same ESP leakage is also, the formula is same, 21 divided by 21 minus O2. Sorry, O2 percentage divided by 21 minus O2 percentage. That will give a EPS leakage. Third is for fans, ID fan, PA fan and FD fan. We have to calculate the efficiency, fan efficiency, and what is the loading ratio, those things we have to calculate. Fifth is a coal mill. For coal mills, we have to find, this is a coal mill. Air is supplied to coal mill to carry the coal powder. The coal is supplied to coal mill. The coal is flushed in the coal mill so that the coal powder and boiler. This is the process of coal mill. What we have to find, how much ton of per unit of energy consumption, that we have to find out. Direct method is output divided by input. Means input is given in the form of fuel. So mass flow rate multiplied by GCV will give an input to the boiler. And the output is a steam. Boiler's output is a steam. So steam's enthalpy minus enthalpy of the feed water, which will give output. So this will give a efficiency of the boiler unit. But the problem with this method is even a small error in any measurement will end up with a high deviation in efficiency calculation. So because of that, we don't use this direct method. We normally use, as per the standard PTC 4.0 also, it is mandated to use an indirect method, that is a heat loss method. We'll see that. One is, this is for, let's say, boiler, fuel and air is given as an input, and flue gas is going out to chimney. What are the losses? One is a dry flue gas loss, and hydrogen loss, moisture in fuel loss, and moisture in air loss. This hydrogen, moisture, and moisture in fuel, moisture in air, it is because the hydrogen combined with oxygen to form a water. That water as well as this moisture and this moisture will get heat of combustion from inside the boiler and converted to water vapor. So it consumes energy from the furnace, so it absorbs energy and wasting a useful heat. And the fifth loss is a carbon monoxide loss. This is because of means the lack of oxygen. Seventh is a fly ash loss and bottom ash loss. This is applicable for coal boiler. And surface loss. This is due to the skin temperature, boiler skin temperature, as well as insulation. And this is a blow down loss. This also will be there for boilers. So we'll see one by one. Like for dry flue gas loss, we have to find out the oxygen percentage in the APH outlet, sorry, inlet, and flue gas temperature at APH outlet. There are formulas. Using that, we will be calculating dry flue gas loss. So using an oxygen, if you find oxygen, we know that for every fuel there is a theoretical air. Theoretical air is calculated using a hydrogen, carbon content, and nitrogen. These are the parameters which we will be using to calculate the theoretical air requirement of the fuel, whatever the fuel it may be. After calculating theoretical air, we have to find how much excess air we have been supplying. For that, we need an oxygen measurement. We use a flue gas analyzer and measure the oxygen percentage. If oxygen percentage is some 10%, if let's say, for example, just 2%, the formula is like O2 percentage divided by 21 minus O2. That formula will give a excess air, how much excess air is available. If it is 2%, the excess air will be 10. So suppose theoretical air for burning 1 kg of coal comes as a 10 kg, let's say. If it is an excess air of 10% means, so we are in total air supplied is 10.1. Sorry, 11. It will be like 11 kg of air is being supplied in actual case. That we have to calculate. From that, we have to calculate how much flue gas is also flowing, mass flow rate of the flue gas. That we will be using in the formula. And we have to take a raw coal for proximate analysis. From proximate analysis using a formulas, we will calculate ultimate analysis, means how much carbon, hydrogen is available in the fuel. Third is a sample of coal mill rejects for GCV analysis, so that we can find the loss due to coal rejection. And fourth is a fly ash and bottom ash losses. These loss, fly ash and bottom ash losses. We have to collect the sample and we will measure the GCV. Thereby, we will find the how much energy is lost in ash. So one point of concern is that in flue gases, which data need to be taken, oxygen or CO2. Using a CO2 also you can find the excess air, but it is preferable to take an oxygen reading. The reason is that if you see, flue gas contains oxygen, CO2, carbon monoxide in very ppm level, and SO2. But if you see the correlation between oxygen and excess air, as the excess air increases, oxygen also increases proportionally. But in case of CO2, as the excess air increases, the CO2 is reducing, not exactly proportionally, little bit deviation is there. For example, for LDO, excess air increase, if it is increased from 2 to 10%, causing a O2 in flue gas to increase by a factor of 5. But the CO2 drop by only 10%. So because of that, it is preferable to use a O2 reading for finding a excess air. As well as oxygen percentage is less sensitive to the variations in the chemical compounds of the fuel. But CO2 in the flue gases depends on the carbon percentage in the fuel. So, but O2 is not affected by the carbon content in the fuel. So, because of these reasons, we prefer to take an oxygen reading to find the excess air. So this is one sample boiler efficiency calculation, results of the calculation of 210 megawatt thermal power plant. All losses are as per the design how much it should be, but in actual case how much it is mentioned. The efficiency also as per the design it should be 77, but in actual it is 69% only. So we'll discuss about the losses in detail. First loss is a dry flue gas loss. What are the causes? The causes are high excess air and high flue gas temperature, means stack temperature. So first we will see high excess air. So how to find, we have discussed using an oxygen measurement in flue gas using this formula. We'll be calculating this one. There's a typo error, so it should be O2%. First we have to find the theoretical air, that is a stoichiometric air. For example, coal, it is a 10 kg of air is required per 1 kg of fuel. It will vary as per the various types of coal as per the specifications of carbon and hydrogen content in the coal. But even if you supply this optimum air, is it enough? But no, it's not enough, because inside the furnace the combustion cannot happen. Means each carbon particle will not mix with the oxygen particle in exactly. So we need to supply little bit of excess air so that the complete combustion takes place. So we have to find the optimum excess air levels for each fuel. Like for example, for coal, optimum excess air is 15 to 20%. So it means that almost if you supply 12 kg of air per 1 kg of fuel, it will have a very good combustion. So you see this drawing which we have discussed. One is in bottom, the air volume is mentioned in bottom. In vertical line, gas concentrations. For example, if the air volume increase from 60 to 180, what happens? You see, the 100 is a theoretical exact stoichiometric air. For example, let's assume that if it is a coal, this is the point of 10.7. So if you see at 10.7, what happens? Little bit of this dotted line is carbon monoxide. If you increase the air level from low to high, the carbon monoxide starts reducing and it reaches to 0 at one point. And what about CO2? It is increasing to certain level. After that, even if you supply a huge amount of air, it will not increase further. It starts reducing. But the oxygen, means oxygen measured in the flue gas. What happens? It starts increasing only after the stoichiometric ratio, means 100%, and it keep on increasing as the excess air increases beyond the required air levels. So how to control this excess air? We know that excess air is directly proportional to dry flue gas loss. We need excess air, but it should be optimum. If it is a coal, this is the optimum point, means just above the theoretical air level. So this red line is the optimum point for all fuels, we can say. Little bit more than the theoretical air requirement. If the excess air levels increases, it will carry a temperature from the combustion and it will exit to the chimney with wasting. So that is the biggest loss happens in any boiler. So the control mechanism is by FD fan. We can use the FD fan speed as well as damper control for small boilers I'm talking about. But this is called a boiler tuning, means what we do, we put a flue gas analyzer in the exit. We observe the O2 level. We have to use the damper, so that we have to adjust the damper so that the excess air levels are reduced. Means O2 in the flue gas analyzer shall show some 2%, like that. Okay. At that point, we fix the damper position. But if we do that manually, is it enough? If you see that the factors which affect the excess air is air density, and because temperature of air is indirectly proportional to the density. If the temperature of air increases, the density will reduce. If we do the boiler tuning at morning 6 AM, let's say, in evening what happens? Temperature will increase, the density will come down. So the air flow will come down. So it will go to this zone, like a combustion, lack of combustion zone. So this will have a big effect on the boiler efficiency. So another factors like fuel flow rate and fuel specification also will affect, because if the fuel flow rate varies, we need to supply a more air or less air. Fuel specification also will have an effect on the excess air requirements. If you see 2% increase in stack oxygen increases the fuel consumption by 1%. So we have to be very careful on finding the excess air and setting. So second reason for dry flue gas loss is a stack temperature. One is, if you reduce the stack temperature by using a heat recovery options like economizer and APS, the efficiency of the system will increase. We will see in detail how every 20 degrees Celsius increase in stack temperature will drop the efficiency by 1%. This is one case study example of PAT audit of TPS. They have 4 units. If you see that the stack temperature was very high, 183 degrees Celsius, but in fact the design temperature was 143 only. So this has caused a loss of this much, almost to 13.24 crores. If they optimize the stack temperature, they can achieve this much savings. Second is a hydrogen loss or enthalpy loss. What are the causes? One is a hydrogen in fuel and moisture in fuel and moisture in air, supplied air. So hydrogen in fuel will, we have told, will mix with oxygen to form a water. that water and these moistures will take heat of combustion to form a steam. So that is a loss. Hydrogen is very high in natural gas. So normally this loss is very high if we are using a natural gas as a fuel. It is almost 11% for natural gas and 7% for flue gas, flue oil. So how to prevent this loss? We can control the flue gas temperature, but it will have a very less effect on this loss. So another method is that condensing heat exchanger, that means condensing economizer, can be used to reduce this loss appreciably. So third is unburnt loss. That is because of lack of combustion, lack of oxygen, carbon mixed with oxygen to form a carbon monoxide, which releases lesser energy than the actual energy. The reasons are like a high primary air flow, fuel size also will be a reason for carbon monoxide, and low air supply. The combustion needs 3 T's: time, turbulence, and temperature. Means enough time in the furnace shall be given to the fuel to burn completely. Second is enough turbulence so that the mixing will happen properly. And temperature, enough temperature shall be available inside the furnace for proper combustion. Most of the time, because of lack of time, this carbon monoxide formation happens. For example, this is a fuel, air enters the boiler, exit through ID fan. The ID fan job is to maintain a draft, means pressure inside the furnace. The optimum draft is -2 to -5 mm of water column. If the draft is very low, means if the pressure is lower than this optimum level, it means that ID fan is at very high speed, so that pulling the flue gas is very fast. So the time given for a complete combustion of fuel is reduced. So that causes a formation of carbon monoxide. If the draft is very high, if the ID fan is rotating very slow, what happens? A high airflow will be there, causing excess air, and so heat transfer will be low. Dry flue gas loss will increase. So it should not be neither high or low. We have to maintain the optimum furnace draft. What we have to do? We have to have a pressure gauge in the furnace. The operator shall continuously monitor the pressure gauge and adjust the ID fan. Maybe if the ID fan has a VFD, it is very well. Otherwise, the damper control also can be done so that the draft is maintained. Fourth loss is about radiation and convection. This is mentioned in the by percentage of the rating, percentage at full rating. If you see that at fully loaded boiler will have a very low percentage. From 1% it will maybe. But as the loading reduces, boiler load reduces, it can go up to 6%. So it is always suggested to operate the boiler at 70 to 80%, because the boiler will have a highest efficiency at 2/3 of its capacity. So that we have to note down. So what are the parameters to monitor while operating a boiler efficiency? One is a steam flow, and is a steam pressure, fuel flow, and evaporation ratio, stack temperature, oxygen in flue gas, feed water temperature, furnace draft, and the blow down TDS. Fourth is a factors affecting the boiler efficiency. One is a stack temperature. If the stack temperature increases, the efficiency will go down, because it carried away the useful heat from the furnace. Second point we have to decide is whether the efficiency calculations are as per GCV or NCV of the fuel. Because that we have to finalize. We are normally in PG test what they have used, whether the GCV or NCV, we have to find out, and accordingly we have to use the same thing. Otherwise the deviation will be there in the efficiency. That will again confuse us. Third is a fuel specification. Initially, the boiler, when commissioning, they found some field specification was this much, and as per that, they set the excess air levels, everything, theoretical air requirement and excess air level. But is this enough? If you see that, it is not enough, because if the hydrogen increases, the loss will increase. So the hydrogen to carbon ratio shall be lesser, so that the efficiency improves. And the fourth point is the excess air levels. That is very important for limiting the dry flue gas loss. And atmospheric air temperature. For every 10 degrees Celsius increase, the efficiency will increase by 0.5%. This is because the hot air is entering, so that the amount of heat to be given by the fuel is reducing. And the sixth point is the relative humidity. If relative humidity of the air increases, the efficiency will come down. Because if you see in rainy seasons, your efficiency will come down, because the air will have a moisture content. That moisture enters the boiler, consuming heat, useful heat, so efficiency will come down. And draft furnace pressure we have discussed. Eighth point is the feed water temperature. So thank you. This is my email ID. This is my both are email ID. This is my YouTube link. You can subscribe and watch more videos on energy conservation. Now we will discuss the question and answer.